Hey guys, so in today's video we're going to think about what component form is and how to get a vector, any type of vector we may be given, and get it into this component form. And so what component form is it's a vector. So component form of a vector is component, I should spell it right maybe. It's when a vector has an initial point and an initial point at the origin. So, as you know, not all vectors do have an initial point at the origin. I'll show you in a second. And so what this does is we can put it in component form and we can compare different types of vectors. So let's say we have a vector given here. We've got this guy right here, and we don't know. They'll say this point is going to be P, and this point is Q. And the 2 points are Q1 and Q2. Because everything's got a point in the XY plane. So Q1, Q2, and then P1, P2. But we don't really know the length and magnitude of it because it's not starting here. So we can't compare it to a vector like over here because we don't know. We have to have a starting point, and that starting point is the origin. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to move this vector to start at the origin and then this vector to start at the origin. And that's what component form is. So let's take this example right here. Let's say we have this vector. We'll say point Q is going to be -5, and we'll say we're up 6. Then we'll say point P, we'll say it's about -2. Point P equals -2. And we'll say it's up 2. So 2. So these are our 2 points, and then we want to get component form of these points. Component form, when we're given 2 points, we're given the initial point, which is P, and the terminal point of the vector, which is Q. Component form is P1 minus Q1. No, it's Q1 minus P1, I should say. Q1, because we're starting at the terminal and going back to the initial. So Q1 minus P1, comma, Q2 minus P2. So, and what that will do is that'll get rid of this space right here, and it'll make everything start right at the origin. So let's see, in this case, Q1 is -5, so we've got -5 minus a -2. And then Q2 is -6. 6 minus 2. Okay, so then we've got, well, it's going to be -5 minus a -2 is -5 plus 2, which is -3. And then we've got 6 minus 2 is 4. So now this new point, this new component vector, we'll call it PQ, PQ, equals -3, 4. And now let me show you what that means. That means that this vector really, if we were starting at the origin, we would go over 3, 1, 2, 3, and up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll say it's like right there. I'm just guessing, not really doing a perfect thing here. And that's the terminal point right there. So this would be the vector in component form. And now we can erase this one. And let's see what it does. Is now we could compare it to this vector that we had over here. So let's say this vector had initial point P, which was, we'll call it 3, 1, and it had terminal point Q, let's say 5, 3. And now what we could do, well, I shouldn't make it PQ because we just did a PQ. We'll say it's RS. So now what if we want to compare these two vectors? Well, what we can do is we can get the other vector, RS, in component form. So now we're looking for RS in component form, and we know we find it the same way. We're going to take the terminal point minus the initial point for each side. So we're going to do 5 minus 3 because those are our x values. Then we're going to do 3 minus 1 because those are our y values. And then so the component form of RS, of vector RS, equals 2, 2. So now we can really draw these vectors out. RS is going to be 1, 2, 1, 2. Looking something like this. And now we can see that these vectors have the same starting point and just different initial ending points. So now we can do all types of things. We can find the angle between the vectors, and this just helps to compare them. It's easier to find magnitude this way. So you're going to definitely have to do this a lot. So just know that what component form is it's changing these random vectors, which may be shooting out here and shooting out here, and it's making them all have the same starting point, which is the origin. And remember, what you do is you take the terminal point and you subtract the initial point of each the x and the y values. So terminal minus initial, and then terminal minus initial, and you will be given your component form of the vector. I hope this was able to help. If you have any questions, just shoot them in comments, and please comment and subscribe. Let me know what you want to see.